and welcome to this episode of the Spiritual Awakening Annual YouTube Summit and YouTube podcast with me, Iona. I'm your host at the SoulLegacyTV, Spiritual Business Success with Iona. And so I have a very special guest tuning in from Egypt, right? Romona, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me take you off mute. So guys, if there is any techie glitches or a little bit of a lag or anything like that, we will come back on. And there will be replays. There will be replays and there will be a playlist for you to enjoy these episodes. So welcome, Romona. Hey, love, how you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great.
Okay. Awesome. So before we dive into today's episode, I want to thank everyone who's in our attendees community. Thank you. Do invite other people in to hear Ramona's story. So we're not going to hold back. I'm going to ask any questions. If you have any comments, do leave them down below and then we'll get back to them. If we don't get to them while we're on live, we will come back on the replay. So this is streaming out on my YouTube channel at the SoulLegacyTV. It's in the Soul Legacy Academy for those of you who are in the Spiritual Alchemy giveaway and will be attending the Spiritual Alchemy after show. So we have a lot for you today. Romona, before we dive into you sharing your spiritual awakening story and how your journey unfolded in terms of what you're doing today as a light worker, I want to just share a little bit about our connection. So for those of you who don't know, Romona is our lead soul guided instructor for the Soul Legacy Academy, which I'm the founder of. And she's also the soul guided instructor for the Spiritual Biz YouTubers Network, which I'm the producer of. So our journey started years and years ago, right? How many years ago? About 8 years ago? About 8 years ago. Ooh. And I realized today how we came together. So part of our spiritual awakening story is having those connections, right? And so Romona had been in a group, so the power of community, in a group when my speaker had joined and you guys had a conversation, right? Do you remember that? Can you hear me? Yeah. So
yeah,
you guys had
vaguely. Yeah, I remember that.
And then you were introduced to me, and then 8 years on, we're actually sharing the stage together in a joint vision partnership. That's how the universe works. I realized that today. I was like, oh my goodness. So you're here on this first season of sharing your spiritual awakening story. So give us a little bit of a backstory into your spiritual awakening. Can you remember your first spiritual awakening? Was it years and years ago? What triggered it? Give us a little bit of insight into and paint the picture of what that was like for you.
Ooh, wow. Looking back, it was years and years ago when I was much younger. I was a child. I didn't know it at the time. So I thought my spiritual awakenings were happening recently, but no, yes. This was as a child. And this may be the reason why I've said it took me 5 years to adjust to this place. As a child, I had eczema and I had rheumatoid arthritis, which means my skin was a complete disaster. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. And my body was just not working properly. You know, it was the weirdest thing to look back on those days. But something was telling me a different story. Although my skin was as bad as it was, and the things that I was hearing from people, you know, as they talked about my skin, as doctors did research and talked about my skin as if I wasn't there, you know. And the same thing with the arthritis. So there was something going on within me that was quite different from what I was hearing. I didn't realize that until as as an adult. Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, you did a little bit. It's okay.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. Okay. I didn't realize, now knowing that those were spiritual awakenings, that I was on a journey.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up a little bit. What I heard you say is that your spiritual awakening, what you realized is something was different from you adjusting to being in this place. And in this place, you mean in the world, like you just didn't feel like that was the norm, like you were adjusting your skin. So it was a health, because we know that spiritual awakenings are triggered through many different areas of our life. So yours was your health, but as a child, and it showed up in skin conditions.
Yeah. In skins, in my skin, in my joints, inflammation, everything like that. So that story was my life. Those major incidents, and even with my eyes, those major incidents became the foundation of the story throughout my life. So in my healing, I realized what I was doing was healing that child that was going through those things and connecting back to the source that was guiding me. So there's been many awakenings throughout, throughout our lives, but throughout mine. And I'm just putting that pieces of the puzzle together where I'm understanding me as a whole, as a whole being. And it's amazing. I'm honored now that my childhood was the way it was, because I've heard so many other stories where people's lives were much worse. So I'm grateful for the experience I had, and to come out on the other side of that, and being able to talk about it now, I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
Thank you. So when you're saying that, you went through those experiences as a child and you're okay with it now, so were there points along your journey and having that spiritual awakening and just knowing that the difference between you and others, how did that impact you from then to now? Like, what has been the thread? Like you said, that's been the story of your whole life, and you've gone through that healing. Like, what point did you know, oh well, this can be healed? Is it healed? And how did it show up in the rest of your life? Because one of the reasons why I'm putting this summit together and for inviting others to share their story is because we need to make sense of what is actually happening to us, what's been happening, and why. So how did it show up throughout your life? And hopefully you can hear me. You are frozen on the screen, but we could hear you.
Oh,
so hopefully
wow.
You're good. You're good.
I can hear you.
In the UK.
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, I heard you.
And you're in Egypt. So how beautiful is that? Technology is just amazing. And I wanted to do this live. So that's just me. So how did it show up for you? Like connecting those dots, like more, what was that experience where you felt, did you feel different?
Absolutely. I didn't recognize it at the time because healing and feeling really good about myself internally was very new when this happened. So it was the eczema. Even as an adult, it was, a lot of times people say, well, children grow out of it. Well, that didn't happen for me. So even as an adult, it was always there. Like, you can't hide how your skin looks unless you cover it up completely. And I couldn't, because it was too irritating to cover. So I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So it affected how, get what type of jobs I could get. People would look at me and be like, well, come back, literally rude, come back when that's gone. But it was when I had decided to let that go that it cleared. Like I have the scars from it,
Yeah.
but I have
Yeah.
not had eczema until I said, I'm done. I'm done with that. And that was before, that was like the first time I had acknowledged that something like that could happen. This was like after doing rituals and tapping into all of these different things without really understanding all of that. But then the healing happened almost instantly. Like the skin just cleared up. It's the eczema went away. The inflammation under the skin just was gone in a matter of weeks, maybe even days. And then I said, oh my, this is healed. Like it's gone. And it was a lot of releasing that went on before then, even with, me having this experience with my oldest daughter. I was, it was something that was traumatic through my mother's pregnancy. And I was taking a bath. I had some oils and stuff that I had to put my body in because it was very inflamed at this time. And she came into the bathroom and she saw that I was crying and we were talking. And I told her, I just realized, because my mother died when I was 6 and I was raised by her aunt. So I was still adopted within the family. Mm-hmm. Thank God for that. I was still adopted within the family. So there was still a connection, although it was a disconnect, but I was still connected, as far as bloodline goes. And when I was having that conversation with my daughter, I started to say things like, she's not coming back. Like she's gone. And all of the things I could remember of her were not good. I remember her beautiful smile and her beautiful fingers. My fingers are like hers. But everything else was horrible. It was not pleasant at all. So it was that night that I think I released most of even the fairy tale of, she's going to come back and pick me up, or she's going to stop using drugs and I'm going to be her number one. All of those things probably had been going on in the background of my mind as I was growing up into adulthood. And that affected the choices of men, friendship relationships, all kinds of things. So it was that realization that, and the healing of that was an eye opener for me. So then I said, oh, I am really on a spiritual path here. This is really interesting. Yeah. What's next?
Yeah.
And wow. And that was,
I love that.
That was 2017. That was I think it was 2017 before I came to Egypt the first time, or 2016 maybe. Because when I came to Egypt, my skin was still irritated at that time. So that happened in 2017. And then it was later that year that it was just no more. That's when I started looking back on the dates and times and going, what just happened to me? Did I just heal this? Was it me? Was it God? What was it? What was this? I'd say it was teamwork.
Yes, I love that. I love that you make that connection. And it was 2000. My son, for those of you who don't know, my son passed. I'm sorry to hear about your mom. In April 2015. And so we worked together the next year. And I remember you saying about the eczema on your skin and different things. And where you touch on it was a conversation and a moment. So that moment that you realized actually what was in the back of my mind was probably grief and emotional, that those feelings that were impacting you, and then that release, and then that physical. And so when we have that spiritual awakening, I think that's the biggest connection, that we realize that actually we are souls having a human experience. And it's like, what happened, like all the things that we were told, all the things that we learn, we are powerful manifestors. So you said that trauma impacted you in other areas of your life and relationships, and obviously your health, and obviously with your children and stuff. What else was affected? So for me, when we go for a spiritual awakening, when I went through my spiritual awakening, and coming out of the dark night of the soul and life looking brighter, I realized that all areas of my life, I needed to rebuild. I needed to rebuild an identity, a different identity for my contribution, my purpose in life, my health, my emotions. Like I could be in tune with my emotions. I wanted to choose where I wanted to live and where I wanted to work, and the relationships that I want. I wasn't being pulled anymore, and I was aware of spirituality and finances. So what other areas were affected by that trauma or those experiences you're going through? Where else did you have an awakening where you're like, oh, actually, I can then manifest in different areas? If I can manifest in my own health and there's something else going on, where else did those triggers, or where else did that transformation happen?
Oh, wow. Well, you're right. Just about everything. And not just about, but literally everything.
Yeah. So what did it look like after?
Because that was such a foundational after. Oh, wow. Because that was just one. There are always awakenings going on within us, but some, because the root is so deep, it does create that dark, what we call a dark night of the soul. And it's an experience that it's something that you have to go through alone. When I first came to Egypt to live, I had a small group that came here, and things weren't working right to prepare their trip for them. Everything seemed to have been falling apart. And I had to learn how to make some business decisions that I had never had to make before. And I made a huge mistake, two mistakes. It was during that time that it was the darkest, the deepest I had to go in. And that time period literally lasted for 2 weeks. I know some people, it feels like what I understood to be a depression.
Yeah.
And I had experienced 3 years of that, of depression years before then. That's a whole nother story. But this was deeper. And in the middle of that, looking back, I had to intentionally say, okay, I want to go deeper in this so that I never experience this again.
Yeah.
And a lesson is learned. So from now on, I'm seeing financial liberation, no more of this stuff. So I knew it was going to be a really deep dive. And it was. And after and coming out of it, people showed up and showed out. I mean, complete strangers that I'm now friends with, but they showed up in my life in ways that I have never experienced.
Right.
And so the other side of that was bliss. It was love. It was love. And I was pushing out love. And love came back and said, okay, here I am. Now let's get to work and clean this up so that your guests can have an experience of a lifetime when they come. And I'd be damned if they had an amazing time. They had an amazing time. So that let me know that I'm capable of doing what it is I want to do and what I want to experience and how I want to experience it. That lifted the ceiling. And it's not there. There's no ceiling for me anymore. Yeah.
So yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So you lifted the limit. You lifted the limits. You lifted the ceiling. So if you hadn't have connected the dots and released and let those traumas go, then you probably wouldn't be doing what you're doing today, right? So now that you are doing what you're doing and you connected,
there's no way.
Yeah. So it's sometimes we go through the dark night of the soul, and I love that you said, like, give me what it is. And I did that. I was like, the lessons, I put my hand up. I had my children with me, and I put my hand up, and they go, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting the lesson. I bring it to me. So I love that you connected that with the different areas, and you talked a little bit about your, for the business and the finances. So how has how have you turned what you've gone through, that dark night, that awakening, into what you're doing today? What kind of tools did you use? We'll get on to the gift that you have brought to us and how you do your light work now. I want to know, what tools did you use? What routines, what rituals, to raise your vibration, like being in that dark night and that depression. There's a lot of people who were going through an awakening now. We know a lot of people have been woken up since like 2020, obviously before. That's like why we're here, to wake up. But what tools and rituals did you use that really helped you? And the things that you used then, maybe you might not be using everything now, but some of the things that, like, an absolute must, like this is something for others to maybe be inspired to try.
Oh, wow. That
A lot.
that is a whole nother story within itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized, like, at the very beginning of this, most of us will take on the knowledge that we are ready for. And not to be, downgrading anything, but the most common things where people start off would be like paganism, Wiccan, witchcraft. We go into that space out of curiosity, and
Did
we
you?
learn from there.
I haven't. Did you go into that? So again, the different areas.
You did. I'm sure you did. You just weren't aware of it, because it is a foundational piece. It is something that we will do unknowingly.
Okay.
It's in us. If you watch any TV as a child and as a teenager, then as an adult, you have done certain things that you weren't aware of where they came from. Like, there's some of their origins, and it will be a starting point. So with that being said, that foundational piece will lead to the next thing, which will lead to the next awakening. So each spiritual step that you take has tools based on how you understand, your process and how you process. Yeah. And then you go on and on and on. So I was saying that to say this. At first, I was using tools, like things that you can go get, pick up, move around, outside self. As I went up that ascension ladder and started to go deeper within, I realized I didn't need those outside tools. You're going in. And what happens in going in deeper, though, it cycles back around. So the tools that you used at one time, you may pick up, but they mean something completely different. So it's for enhancement, it's for entertainment, it's for fun. It's just a pattern break, maybe, to keep you from staying in a space too long. So some of those tools were rituals, for example, like candles, incense. I still burn incense, is a thing for me. Candles, salt. A lot of tangible things that you could put your hands on and create a sacred space for yourself. Mm-hmm. As you get deeper into the knowledge, you realize that everywhere you walk is sacred. You are the God of self. So my journey has led me into self-spiritual sovereignty, which we've talked about. And so if you are indeed the God of self, not the God of others or the God that created all or the one source, but you are a fragment of that. So then you become the God of self. You take on those responsibilities. And as I learned that, I realized that wherever I walk and stand and stop and focus on becomes my sacred space. Now, if I want to do Superman and Wonder Woman stuff and visualize things around me and have all these imaginary superpowers, fine. But at the end of the day, you have to be the one that says, I am, which I think I had a conversation with either you or someone else about what I even means, because I realize that when I'm saying I, even in affirmations, that transformed as a tool.
Yeah.
At first, we learned I am. So I am that, right? And you're working on your root chakra. But as you go up into the heart space, bringing all of you together.
You're breaking. Sorry, Romona, you're breaking up a little bit.
When I started using that changed everything. So the tools that I was using at one time evolved.
Yes.
Yeah. The tools that I was using at one time were external. The tools I use now are internal.
Love that.
And that journey from one to the other is now what I can explain to other people and help them through that process. Because like when you were saying that you didn't, you know, the direction that you were going in, or some things that you didn't use or didn't do, that's where I think the fill in the blanks can happen, so that people can understand, yeah, I really did go through that. I just didn't realize that's what it was, because it's a foundational piece. And if you don't, I use those terms like paganism, witchcraft, and Wiccan, is because it's a popular thing in our timeline. It's a popular thing, but it goes back to ancient texts, ancient traditions, ancient African traditions, as a matter of fact. So now I've honed in onto those and it really shifted and opened my eyes and heart up to even more, because now I feel more connected to a lot of the teachings that are out there, because I understand where their origins come from. And that has changed everything for me. As you can see, I've got Anubis hanging out in the background there. And most people might look at that and go, well, Anubis has been taught to be the energy or the person or that prepares people after death. What death? Are you talking about physical death when you leave this place, which we do see on the temple walls, but I really believe those are mistranslated or given information out incorrectly, intentionally. Simply because we have gatekeepers. Anubis is a gatekeeper of the conscious, of your consciousness. Just like in other pantheons, there are gatekeepers. We have Papa Legba, we have Kali Ma. I mean, we have all of these different gatekeepers of stories that people have been sharing. So it's something about that is true. And when I realized that in the tools that I was using, every time I asked a question, the answer was revealed to me to put that down and pick this up. Put that down and pick this up. Go back and get that and figure it out. And at the same time, life is going on. You know, my children were growing up watching me do all of these things in my living room. You know, so now I can sit still, breathe. Yeah. Yeah, my living room, I have photos. If I were to show you what my living room looked like, you'd be like, oh my goodness, Romona.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that a lot of people's environments then become that reflection of what is going on externally, and people like, and our family and our children, that legacy that we leave, they do pick up. For me, for my daughter, you know, she was watching me. She was watching me. So I say with the witch and the Wiccan and the pig, like that wasn't the path for me. The spiritual and the guidance of what tools and what and just going within. I went within quite early on my journey, because I journaled. That was one of the tools that I used. Hence the Soul Legacy Journal. So thank you for sharing that and bringing the insights into some of the tools that we do use, and yes, use, like you said, you know, you will use what we need when we're ready for them. And then once we've got to that certain level as we are on that spiritual ascension journey, we're like, oh, okay, I don't need as many of them now. I don't need any of them right at this time, or I might pick them up or put them back down. And I wanted to just share that piece, because we take it for granted. When you're further along on this spiritual, you've had your spiritual awakening, although we keep having spiritual awakenings. I'm not implying that it's over, but just to define that when you're going through the spiritual awakening and the depression part, or the really dark emotional part, is not necessarily the same time as when you're bringing in other stuff. Like you said, you end up being in a space where you are alone and you're going through and you're feeling those feelings. And then there comes a time where you're adding different things to your life to see that different path emerging, and it can kind of look a little bit messy and a bit chaotic, because it's a lot of here and here and here, and we haven't quite made sense of it. And then we get to the point where, which I love as part of the Spiritual Awakening Annual YouTube Summit, and why I put this together, is because the next phase is turning all those things, the wounds, into wisdom, the things that you've gone through and the things that you've used, and you alchemize it. And then you birth your light work in the world, because without all of the learnings and the teachings and the growing and the elevating, we're not in tune with what it is that we're here to shine the light in the world on, and who for. And you've often said this, we've had conversations where, the people that we're here to serve are often the people that are a past version of you. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring and share your story, because it's that connection of, oh, someone else who's been through similar experiences with their health, with, the loss of their mother. I didn't know that you had lost your mom. I didn't know that. All those experiences, raising your children, there's so many similarities. So let's take that. And again, take notes. I've been trying to take notes, but I don't want to rock my computer, so I'll have to watch the replay. So let's move into where you're doing your work in the world, and how you're doing your work in the world. How is what you've been through formed? What is it that you do? Who is it that you do it for? And making that connection to the gift that you've brought to the spiritual alchemy giveaway. So for those of you who don't know, down below there's a link. We have the Spiritual Ascension After Show, where you can talk and have a conversation and add your energy and share your spiritual awakening story. But also, Ramona's been kind enough to bring a gift, birthing a light work in the world and supporting you to take your next step. So your spiritual alchemy, how have you turned what you've been through into what you do today? And how has that impacted the way that you work in the world, the way that you do your light work? That makes sense.
Oh, wow. That makes total sense. And I didn't realize this until literally just now.
Boom.
I started working on I started working on being online, more than likely because I had been told so many times in so many years about why I couldn't work somewhere because of my skin. So that's probably why, when I saw an opportunity to do something online and to be able to have an income, I'm like, well, then I don't have to go out and do or hear all of those things anymore. So this was in 1994 when I first bought a computer and was introduced to, but anyway, fast forward now, that started me just, learning how to build websites. And I used to build, which were called mini sites for people in certain niches, because that's what we even still do now. We're niching down and building sites around our what we do.
Right.
But back then, a couple of people had maybe 100. Yeah, they had 100 niches, and they needed little mini sites with blogs and stuff like that.
I remember.
With links for them to be able to sell their products and services.
I remember.
Yeah. So I did that for years. We all did.
Yeah.
I wanted something different in 2020. And like I said, I think we all did. And I was like, I don't want to do that part anymore. I want to get more involved with people. And then the thing with coaching, I saw a lot of coaches, popping up, and took a course and went on, from there. So if my skin led me to be online, then okay, that's great.
Yeah.
um, from starting out and then pivoting, changing who I wanted to work with and why, realized that when I was traveling in 2017, I got clients. I came to Egypt for the first time, and someone needed a blog. Can you help me? And how much will it be? And I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I was sitting at a cafe. The internet wasn't as like it is here now. Now, internet, of course, I think is all over the world now. So, but you had to go to certain cafes, and there was a cafe that had somewhat good internet where I can communicate with this person. So I'm down the street, literally from the pyramids, and I get this client. This person pays me. I do fix their blog for them, and it dawned on me at the time I wasn't using the term digital nomad. It was laptop lifestyle. I was living this laptop lifestyle.
Yeah.
So the next year, when my daughter and I went to Abu Dhabi and into Dubai, the same thing happened. I'm like, okay, it's official. I am literally 100% online. I don't care what anybody says, whatever, you know.
I love that.
So, that's it. Here I am.
I love that. And so when we met in 2000, must have been 16. I was in my home, working from home and building my business to have that lifestyle. And then more recently, I've joined and entered the spiritual digital nomad world. And I was like, and you told me that you were going to write a book about being a digital nomad. And I was like, oh my God, Ramona, this is it. So we've done all of that, done all the practice work and all the preparation, when you link things together and then you're like, holy moly, certain people, certain relationships come in, like you said, that they kept popping in to your world when you were in, I believe, vibrational alignment, right? And so you're doing the digital nomad stuff, which really resonates. Hey, love, how you doing? We've got, I'm not sure who that is. Let us know who you are. So, hey, love, how you doing? We've got people in the community, Ramona, who probably will watch the replay, but this will be streaming out. So you guys can watch the replay and come to the Spiritual Ascension after show. So whoever you are, let me know your name. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's okay. But thank you for joining us. We've had such a beautiful conversation so far. And we're at the point where Ramona's having these aha moments, these downloads of, this is my purpose. This is, when you get that come full circle. Sometimes we don't listen straight away. We're like, is this the thing? And then we get the, hello, this is really the thing. And the digital nomad, traveling while you teach, is something that I wanted to do. And I turned 50 in August. And I know from when we were working together a few years ago, that was your focus. Like, I want to focus on women. I want to travel. You did some traveling, right? More so over the years, and then transitioned to Egypt full time. So share with us a little bit about how what you're doing. It's Alice. Hey Alice, how you doing? How you're doing what you're doing online, how you're able to do that. So your giveaway, you've got the roadmap. What's your giveaway called? The roadmap. What is it? The traffic explosion, and then growing your business.
It's traffic explosion. Yeah, traffic explosion.
Yeah. Which leads to a mini course, right? Go on.
Yeah.
Go
yeah.
For it.
So yes, trying to get my thoughts together. Yes. Well, what I realized I was doing, because we did have these conversations years ago, and everything was unfolding. So we both, or everybody, I believe, goes through these experiences so that you come out on the other side and you can reach back and pull others. And then you go and then you reach back and pull others, right? So what I thought about in 2020 in pivoting, I had turned 50, and I was realizing that now the people that I'm attracting are another version of me, but they don't know what I knew at the time. So I'm watching these women 50 and over, 50, 60, 71 was, my oldest was 86. And, I almost fell out of my seat when she told me she was 86 years old.
Wow.
So what I was finding out is that they were having issues with some, not simple, I don't want to say simple, with some of the tech issues, with putting their businesses together. And now we're using terms like automation and funnels and things like that. And when a person first comes online, that's all foreign to them. And so they may go searching on Google, land on YouTube, there's 1,000 videos, and so they stop. Most of these women were professionals offline. They had clinics, they had a thriving service, and now they're just shifting online. 2020 put us all online. Yes. And so there's a flood of women who had been in business for 30 years or more. They know their work. Online is a different world. Yeah. I found myself helping them and being able to have the patience enough and understand how they're thinking to help them through some of the processes. For example, just setting up on Facebook was traumatic for one lady. It was 2 years, hadn't put a cover up, 2 years. And we worked on getting that cover, going into Canva. And she was like so grateful for being able to do that. She was like, so now I have a cover, I'm real. I was like, you've been real the whole time. You are real. You've been real the whole time.
Thank you for holding space for everyone. And yeah, go on. Sorry, yeah, there's a little bit of a lag. So I was saying thank you for holding space for everyone, because there are people that I work with as well, and I know in the spiritual community we know, like, we're not tech savvy, like, necessarily. We've worked really hard to become more tech savvy, and there's pieces missing, holes missing. We want to get our gifts out in the world, and we want to support you to get your light work out in the world. And when you let technology block you from doing your work in the world, that means you're not going to be able to go out traveling and seeing the world and all the rest of it. So Ramona's here to help us with the techie stuff, right, so that we can travel while we teach. I'm like, Romona, this is gold. There's a little bit of a lag. Are you good?
Yeah, I was attracting a certain age group. So yeah, you and I had a conversation years ago, and we were saying stuff like calling out different names and titles, and you said Teex Savvy, yeah, like a program. And I was like, yeah, like people who are tech savvy. Yeah, Teex Savvy Women Program or something like that. Well, here I am.
Oh gosh, you're breaking.
Teex Savvy Women over 50.
I can hear you. There's a little bit of a lag. I know where you are in sorry, Ramona, that you're breaking up a little bit. I can hear you. I know your story, so I can fill in the dots a little bit. Your internet, you're a couple of hours ahead of us. Is your internet going to hold out for like the duration?
Okay.
Is it good? I know there's times, so I'm just being aware of the times.
Hour every day, and I'm hoping doesn't go out while we're online.
I'm thinking that. I just want to prepare just in case, because I'm thinking we've got 5 minutes to that hour, and I'm like, is it now or is it in an hour? I'm hoping it's not now.
Yeah, it's random. It was at certain hours, like around the same time, but lately it's just been random. So, but it's usually an hour when it. Yeah, isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, and all the tech stuff, right? That happens, and so that even more so what you bring, what you need to duplicate yourself online, so that we haven't got to be there necessarily for our audience to see us, which supports your gifts even more so, right?
Right. That's why I am excited about this. I did toy with it for a while and was creating more of a problem than anything. And then when I asked you yesterday, it was okay, and you were like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, it makes sense. For someone who wants to be 100% or at least 85%, let's say 85% online, you're going to need traffic. And then video is how you communicate. So the gift I'm giving is called Teex Savvy. What is that? Pursue your passion to profits. Traffic explosion. And I go through diagrams on different styles of different ways of getting traffic, like, paid and organic. But then I break down how that looks as a funnel. And that's a bonus. And then there's like the cheat sheet, and that leads to a mini workshop that you go through so that you can create your lead magnet. And your lead magnet is itself a video mini course that you would be offering to people. So it's a way for them to get to know you, get a feel of how you as a consultant, a coach, or whatever product or service you offer, they get to develop a rapport with you via video. The sales process is done in that time frame, so it takes the pressure off of selling out it being awkward. So it's not cold calling or having a cold conversation with someone. They've actually warmed up to you. You've gotten to warm up to them, because now there's email marketing, or there's DMs, or there's some form of communication where you get a feel of how they are thinking. So then when you do have that Zoom conversation or, video chat with them in Messenger, or however you style that, it's, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see you kind of thing, versus, well, here's she trying to sell something, two different types of conversations. So if you have these things in place first, they act as a filter for you. And then by the time you get on a call with someone, you're confident, they feel it, and you can just spread your love, joy, and services to them without that feeling of, I'm getting ready to ask them for some money. I just came across the most amazing thing 2 days ago, just 2 days ago. Someone said to me, people pay you money for your services. I said, what? That is so true. Like, how would I not know that? Isn't that weird? Like, I did not feel or have that knowing. So there's been that inner blockage for me, struggling with receiving. And when she said this to me, she took me through some steps at first, because it was intentional conversation. But I had a very huge awakening at that moment. It was an aha moment. And I'm looking around and I'm saying, people pay me for my services and the products and my time and what I have to offer them, because it solves a problem. It helps them get to the next phase of their journey. And that's what we do. When we go to the store and we're hungry, the next phase of that journey is to not be hungry. So when we go to the grocery store, the person at the register is already knowing you're getting ready to give them money to pay for the stuff that you get ready to take out of the store. So you go home and fix your meal. That blew my mind. I'm like, how did I not know that? She said, it wasn't about you not knowing it. It was about by you accepting it. and
Yeah.
now you should go out and not have a fear of selling. I'm
No.
like, I really don't. No, I don't.
It's
This is what I do. I'm glad to do this because
thank you.
I'm always told, Romona, you are so patient. Thank you for being so patient and helping me through this. So
Yeah.
that must be a gift.
Yeah. It is a gift. It's absolutely a gift. And I know that as part of the awakening process, and going through the awakening, whether it is through your purpose and your contribution, you want to do, you're aware of the light work that you are here to birth in the world. And as I say, living intentionally and raising our vibration. And when I went through my awakening, it was every single area of my life. And I call those now the intentional living codes, living more intentionally in alignment with like when we go through an awakening, we are vibrating at a lower frequency. Being in a spiritual depression is not a high vibrational frequency. And it's okay. It's not like, oh, well, in our job is to raise our vibration. So what I say for the Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency, this is why I brought the summit, is because if you're going through an awakening, the Cheers stands for an acronym. Contribution is the C, health is H. Yeah, E is emotional freedom, and the other E is environmental freedom, relationship freedom, spiritual freedom, and financial freedom. And as light workers, spiritual entrepreneurs, as healers, we go out, and when we have our awakening, it's like, yeah, I want to contribute in the world. I want to do all of this. I if I want to travel while I teach, well, you won't be traveling unless you're receiving the financial freedom, and that's the basis of this whole process. And this whole message is, yes, do your light work, because without awakening to your purpose, then there is no spiritual awakening and your YouTube summit. Like, there are people that are waking up, and as you mentioned, 2020, so the landscape has changed. People are coming online. We're coming online. Yes, you have events, and yes, you have in-person retreats and workshops, which I know that you hold. But really, the foundations, as you said, 85% being online. And not only that, saying freedom for me really means freedom. So the freedom to contribute to as many people as I possibly can is me not serving one-on-one and getting on the phone with everyone. It's going out and reading my book, going out and watching this on YouTube. It's a video. And so when you understand as a light worker, actually, I am made for more, and I don't want to get on the phone with everyone all the time for the rest of my days and take up all of my time and my time away from my family and be stuck, like create another job. Having the tech help to be able to duplicate yourself, duplicate your gifts, and take the people that you are here to serve, reach them, and then have them come into your world and have your knowledge and your area of expertise and your gifts without having to be there. That's a level of freedom and is an awakening in of itself. I had no clue. I did not know that even existed. And now we've come full circle where we're teaching it, and we're showing up, and we're speaking out, and we're serving deep. And part of being in the Spiritual YouTubers Network and being the producer of that is having you come onto video and automating your business and aligning your business. And that's why I wanted to bring you on as one of our soul guided instructors, because this needs to be your message needs to be birthed in a way that our audience can feel it. Those, you merge spirituality and business so beautifully, because in the spiritual community, we're sitting at home saying, I don't know how to sign up my clients, don't know how to speak to them, and I don't know how to serve them, and I don't feel worthy of all of those things. And you've been in business for so long, sharing that insight is just absolutely beautiful, because I have that insight over and over and over again throughout my journey for the last 15 years, being a coach, is, oh, I'm being in service and people won't pay me for my light work. Like, that feels natural to me. Like, you would actually pay me for my work. But when you make it tangible and you package it up in the way that I know, right? And you package it up and you use that video, then you can send more people, and you're not overwhelmed. Like, oh, well, if I want to serve, right? So is this true for you guys? How many people do you really want to serve? 1, 2, 10, 100, 1,000, thousands, millions? I know you've got a movement and you want to serve millions of people. Well, you can't get on the phone with millions of people. So what Romona does is help you package it up and serve as many people as you possibly can. And I think that message is just really beautiful. So if you're not tech savvy, Romona will help you and give you a visual. I'm very visual. Give you a visual on, oh, well, if you want, because for me, the energy of list building is not something that I resonate with. Like, go out and build a list. The money's in the list. I want to build a legacy. And so your videos are legacy, your books are legacy, your business is a legacy. And so it's not just about putting people on that, like building something to say, here, come and work, come and buy my stuff. It's come and experience my light work. Look, this is the journey that I've been on. And here are the gifts that I'm here. If you're where I was, this is my responsibility and my duty to then serve. And no, we don't have the excuse of letting the tech stuff get in the way, because we've got Romona helping you with all the tech stuff. Right? So there's no excuse. Like, I can't, because there's none of that. Like, I love what you do. So we're going to wrap up. I want to respect your time. So what I want to do is, again, invite you guys to the Spiritual Ascension After Show Party. The link will be around here in the comments description of the show notes. That happens on the third Thursday of the month live. So you can share your spiritual awakening story with like-minded people who get it, who want to hear what it is that the experiences that you've been through. The second thing is the spiritual alchemy giveaway. So Romona, you're going to give us the gift, and that is a free gift from Romona. So the way that the summit works, if you're watching this on the SoulLegacyTV, there's a playlist so you can enjoy more episodes. I go live on the 2 middle Wednesdays of the month, October through to April, at 9 a.m., which is this show. This is the first show in the season. Thank you, Romona. And then 3 p.m. and then 9 p.m. UK time. So Romona, it's for a takeaway for our audience before we do wrap up. What is the legacy that you feel like, well, I've gone through this awakening. Actually, I've used these tools and now I've alchemized. What is the legacy that you're here to leave in the world, to birth? What's the message and the movement behind what it is that you're here to do now? I think that's almost it said yes.
That was great. So whoever's there is like, yes. I realized that all that has happened to me, and probably more than likely others, is we are on a road to spiritual self-sovereignty. So that means that as a fractal of, or fragment of source, we came here to have a human experience. Yeah. To go back to where we came from, right? That's all. That's what I've been seeing as a pattern over and over and over again. What I have learned that I can offer people is this part of them in the growth of their own spiritual business, and them wanting to have that time freedom. Even if you're not interested in being a digital nomad where you want to go travel the world and stay away from home, you just may want to go away and still be able to run your business and then go back home. Your travel may be around your home, where you leave the kitchen, go to the living room, back into the bedroom, outside in your patio, whatever. You're still a digital nomad. So with that being said, I realized that my talents lie within putting the behind the scenes stuff together for you to automate so that you can make that possible, and you're not chained to your business, your company. You're running your business, with more freedom than having to go into an office. You choose not to have an office. You choose to carry your office around with you, even if it's in your phone. And so that's where I feel the most comfortable to be able to help women over 50. And I've done it and I'm doing it. And I want to leave that for my children as well. I want them to understand that at some point they're going to be frustrated and realize that they have been helping someone else build their dream, And then when they start to focus on theirs, they can go, well, you know what? This is what my mom was doing all this time, even if I didn't understand it. So let me go look at her stuff and see what I need to do. Or let me go join forces with mom and see what see what I can do. But yeah, it is the spiritual self-sovereignty. I really believe that now. I don't know if that's a movement or anything, but if not, it should be, because that's where a group of people can go, okay, we can be supportive of one another in ways that you cannot even comprehend. I can see it so clearly. If I can explain it to someone who's good at graphics, maybe they can have a visual, but I can see, and not only can I see it, I feel it now. When I realized what I was explaining before, when I realized the money thing, that's when I started to really feel it. And I didn't have offers prepared for people at one point. And I couldn't pay bills, but I was still driven to help. So now I'm like, okay, you know what it is to be like that on both sides, not being able to pay for something, just needing a boost of some sort to get you going. And that's why I feel like, offering someone a starting point so that they can get something done and then move up. And then that energy exchange will grow between us, or you and someone else. Like for you, example, Iona, your vision board challenge. Oh, what the heck? Oh my goodness. I've done those before, but this, because you tap into each one of your cheers, took me deeper into that. It wasn't just about vision board for money or, I want. I had to think about each part of my being and that part of my identity and say, this is what I want on my board. This is what I want to experience, or this is where I am. And now when I go and look at my boards, I'm like, you know what? That feels good. I can see where that's going. It's amazing. That vision board challenge was not only, I think, life-changing, but it was a spiritual shift for me personally. So without crying all over the place,
I'm crying.
for doing the work to do that. Oh my gosh. That was huge. That was huge for me.
Thank you. Well, you got me. I did not think that I would cry. All right. I'll read Alice's comment. I believe that's Alice's comment. Thank you so much. That's my legacy. That is my legacy right there. It was, I went through my spiritual awakening, and I won't share my story here, but you will see it on the Soul Legacy TV. If you come to the upgrade, you'll see that as well. And your spiritual awakening story will, unfold the way that it is. But for me, the Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency, this is it for me. This has been a long time in the making, where I had practices, like I've done close to 130 interviews. And I knew that, I wanted to get clear on the vision of my contribution. I wanted to have all of those things, like my health, and receive the money so I could do more work in the world and reach more people. And it wasn't just about, because I came online as the vision coach, right? Well, I did a code board. I knew about the law of attraction. I was using it in reverse. Chaos was unfolding in my life. I was like, what the heck is happening? Now I know it's a shedding of our old vibration to allow this, but people don't teach it like that. So if you guys want the Vision Board Challenge, it's there at the Soul Legacy TV, Spiritual Business Success with Iona. And again, that's what that's what Ramona's teaching, is that you create videos that create that experience for your audience to go through, because that's there now for you to have. And I do it live annually on the second week in December, right, 7:30 p.m. UK time. And so Ramona will help you really add transformation to the world, but do it so you're not burnt out. So thank you, Ramona. Have me crying. So Facebook user, I believe this is Alice. She says, I think we all came to balance the world by balancing. Oh man, You probably read this already, but this is the first time we're using it. I think we all came to balance the world by balancing ourselves and bringing the idea that balance is the truth and nature to the imbalanced world. Now that is a beautiful note to wrap this up.
Very
because
well said.
Yes,
Yeah,
like screenshot that, y'all, write that down, journal that. Thank you for bringing your energy. That is so beautiful. And I've been hearing that word so much in the 7 freedoms frequency. That is that balance. That's exactly what it's there, that energetic balance. Oh my gosh. Oh no, you manifested mayhem.
Balance and wholeness.
Yeah, it looked like mayhem and it looked like chaos because nobody's told me with the law of attraction. Really, underneath that is the low vibration. So it's what I'm emitting.
Oh, yes.
And when you have that old world, that old whatever it is, that life, but you want the new life, there's a gap. There's a vibrational gap. So therefore, everything has to fall away here for you to manifest that and experience that. So it felt like chaos. It felt like mayhem. I was like, what the hell? What is happening to me? But again, with my home being a digital nomad, that went, like all that stuff went. That came again in like, but I could see it now because I'm like, I'm not buying into that chaos. I'm gonna let it fall away. I'm gonna give away my stuff. I gave away my car. I did all the things because why? I had this vision to travel. So why are you sitting in your home office? Like, why are you sitting there and like not actually doing the thing? Do you know what I mean? So we are here to support that journey.
So much sense.
And and understanding that when you get the signs and the nudges from the universe and it feels like, I can't handle this, like I'm going to go under, that is why we're here. That's why we have the Spiritual Ascension after show party, because you are not alone. I was alone behind closed doors thinking I was a crazy lady. Like, so looked like mayhem, looked like chaos, but it wasn't.
Well, actually it is. I mean, things are birthed out of chaos.
Yes.
Even you think of a childbirth. We have this thing that childbirth is the most beautiful. No, it was not beautiful. It was painful. I wanted to kill everybody in the room. It was chaotic. My body was splitting open. No, it's chaos.
And apparently it's natural. Natural birth. It feels so unnatural. But it is natural, and we expect natural things to be like smooth and lovely. And so it looks like chaos, but it's the most beautiful birthing in the world. And when the pain is done, then we're like, I'm grateful now. Oh, I've got my child, you know, and this is the most beautiful gift that you can have. They choose us. But at the time, it's like, do you know how much pain? My daughter is 20. And I say, I'm still feeling it now. And she's like, Mum, I said, she was a 9-pound baby. Like, listen, I'm not a big one. She was a 9-pound baby. I'm like, what? And speaking of that, Romona, so when Romona and I connected, this is kind of like the bloopers, right? When Romona and I connected, that digital nomad, and that's what I was building. And the year after my son passed, because he passed 12 days before his 20th birthday, when he was supposed to turn 21, like he's up there watching me celebrating on the beach, right? And Romona and I had worked together, and I received a payment from Romona on my son's birthday. And I was like, girl, that was my dream. This is a sign. Oh my gosh, I'm not even at home. And like, wow. And then I was like, it's my son's birthday. And you said, it's my birthday today. I was like, what? Signs, synchronicities, listen to them, because it just brings so much amazing. So you, Alice said it was an uphill battle for you. Was it not uphill battle, like with lots of people around you saying it's an uphill battle for me as well? Or are people retreating behind closed doors going, I think I'm the only person that's experiencing this because I can't see anyone else around me, and I want to normalize this journey. I want to normalize this journey. It is chaotic, but that's the norm, because it's the shedding. It's the
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. The longer it takes you in that space is only because the memories that you haven't detached from it. The reason why some people can go through things so quickly is because there's no emotional attachment to it. But when you do have emotional attachment, and the deeper it is and the more stories that are involved with that one attachment, the resistance is strong. So the pain is going to be very dense, very heavy, very, very painful. But I realized this. So that's when we were talking before. It's like, what can I do to help people in that process?
Yes.
Like, what can I do? So when you ask those questions, you're getting ready to experience exactly what you can do.
Yeah.
And it took me several rounds to get it down to where I understand it. I can talk about it. I'm detached from the emotional stuff that came along with a lot of the trauma in my life. Even all the stuff that I created, I take ownership for that. So it's like, now I can say, okay, let's sit down. Let's do this, this, and this. Pause for a second, because this is getting ready to happen to you. All right, now let's keep going. And then understand where people need pattern breaks. Like, you do need a break. And for some people, they will be kicking and screaming. They're not ready to let go of something. And they think it's okay. They don't realize it, but you can clearly see it because you've been given the honor of making it through it, and you see where they are. So that's where you and I sort of bounce off of that. And we always come into each other's space in a time where there's a wrinkle, and then we iron it out. And it was like, oh, I get it. And you're like, yes, I get it too. And then, so there's it's like a dance that takes place with people that come into your space. And for some, they come in and they leave because the work is something that they're learning. They're not actually doing it. I've found that to be, a truth as well. And you can't learn this in books. You can learn about it, and that might be triggers for your parts of your journey, but you're going to have to experience this. This is the whole purpose of being here, is to have an experience, not just read about it and go, oh, I know. I did that a few times. And when I got up off the floor after that, I realized, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know.
It's so true.
So
that is so true. You didn't get up off the floor. And so I'll read your comments in a second.
Because it will knock you down.
Yes.
Yeah, it will knock you down.
It's true.
So it's been wonderful. I love talking about this.
I do. And the book, speaking of books, the Soul Legacy Journal, Spiritual Awakening of Stories of 365. So I have a co-author book series after this summit series, and I would love to know if you have a story that you want to share in the book. But when I launched my co-author book series before, I had so many co-authors, and it was just amazing. And I was like, okay, but what gifts are you giving in the world to that reader now that you've shared your story? What's the next path? And not everybody got that, because a co-author book, it's like, we're getting to number one, I'm writing my book, I've got my name in the book. Yeah, but what about the people that you're here to serve? Like, how are you going to take that reader off the page, excuse me, and into your world? And that's part of my journey now, of teaching that authorship and creating a YouTube challenge, YouTube videos, as a way for that reader to come off that page and into your world so you can support them. I believe it's our duty not to just write the book, but actually share what we've experienced and what knowledge that we've got and create a community around it. So that just is just so beautiful. And all of the books, I'm a co-author of 3 of the books on my shelf, right? It's not about sitting there, it's just knowledge. It's here, but it's the implementation and the community and the support and the like minds around it. So as we birth the book and we have this space, that's exactly what this space is for. I love having these conversations. So Alice said, roll with the flow. You have to get rid of what doesn't work to find what does. That does look like chaos. Amen. Yes, that right there. My son was £8.50. Yeah, you're feeling it. Yeah.
Oh, my son was 8 pounds and 15 ounces too. Oh my God, my youngest youngest was. My last birth was
Wow.
8 pounds and 8 pounds and 16 ounces. Yeah, he was almost 9 pounds.
Yeah,
And
15. So I think
yeah, that,
isn't it? Yeah,
that
you guys
all of
are
mine were natural as well. All of mine was natural.
natural. Yeah, I had help. Like, we'll talk about that on the after show, right? Yeah, memories, exactly. Amen. Beautiful.
Oh my
And
goodness.
also write
Oh my
mostly
goodness.
stories and poem. I would love to have you feature in the
Oh,
co-author book series.
wonderful.
It's the spiritual
Yeah.
awakening stories and the vision board challenge that Romona mentioned. I have the 7 Freedoms Frequency podcast. So on a daily basis, I use my journal, right? My journal and my notebook to journal out this spiritual awakening process daily, every single day, because that's what I use. And so we want to create a community where we're doing the work. We're not just sitting there behind closed doors by ourselves, but we're actually in community and having conversations with ourselves, figuring it out. Like you said, Ramona, there's resistance. There's a lot of resistance to, the changes and the chaos and making sense. And, like you said, you've done vision boards before, but doing that was deep, like deep inner work.
Yeah.
And as many people as we can get out and share that and then come back together and have a conversation and birth our work in the world and, get the Teex Savvy and all that stuff like handled and down. Because once we've done it, it runs itself. Like we tweak it still, but it runs itself.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful, beautiful. It's such a beautiful legacy that you're building and you're birthing, and I am so honored to be part of that with you. Thank you so much for sharing your spiritual awakening story, sharing it raw and real. I think that that is a wrap. Is there a final last word? You can have the last word, but thank you for joining us. Thank you, Alice, for joining us. Thank you for watching on the replay. Please, this is on my YouTube channel. Share it out, because there's others that need to hear this work. So is there one last thing that you'd like to leave Alice with or leave our audience with watching on the replay?
Well, thank you, Alice, for being here. And thank you also, Iona, for holding space and creating a space like this for us to come and share. This is amazing. Like your whole platform, everything that you're putting together is awesome. And just to let people know that life. I said this one time. I took a guest to a rooftop where she saw the pyramids, and her mother had recently passed away, and she found some papers and photos and stuff of her mom, which her name is Alice. Wow. And so she was going on this path of what her mother did when her mom had come to Egypt. And she asked me a question on that rooftop about what I was feeling or thinking or something like that here in Egypt. And I turned around, and just to the spur of the moment, she was recording it. And I didn't know she was recording, but I was like, life is worth living. And that's what she was saying. It seems so simple, but life is truly worth living. And this is the best version of myself right now as I move into another version of myself, which would be even more awesome. And I want that. It was an amazing feeling. And I would love for other people, other women, especially women over 50. Reason being is you've lived 50 years, half a century, and you're probably just now saying to yourself, and that little girl who wanted to be a ballerina, ride horses or whatever, go in space or whatever she wanted to do, you're just now remembering she had a voice and she was telling herself she wanted to do something. So now that all of your children, if you've had children, are all adults or whatever the situation is, do it. Do as much of it as you can and get as close to that goal as possible. Life is worth living. Living. That's what I'd like to leave.
Thank you so much. And I just want to acknowledge Alice again. The birth is way more than 15 pounds. Trust me. Thank you too. It's been a lot of fun, this first episode We should learn to live for the ones before us that didn't get a chance as we succeed, so do they. We should
Absolutely.
learn to live for the
Absolutely.
ones
Absolutely.
before us that didn't get a chance as we succeed, so that legacy for the people that
Yes.
paved the way, and we are the ancestors
Absolutely.
of tomorrow. So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
joining us on the Soul Legacy
Yeah.
TV. This is Iona Reid. I'm Romona
Thank
Myles.
you.
Signing off. Speak to you soon. Big love. Take care.
Bye.